Hello there, and thank you for once again joining us to our guide to writing winning emails. Now, this is the second part of a series, tentatively called How Not to Write Crap Emails, specifically outreach emails. Now, I'm your host, CEO, and founder of Kulea.ma, marketing automation for agencies and beyond. And I'm here to guide you through. This is a more practical session, actually. This is a more practical session of what goes into writing a great outreach email and equally what goes into writing a really poor one. And to demonstrate that, I'm going to fall back on metaphors involving cake. So doesn't that look delicious? This is what I call the email efficiency cake. Now, whilst it might look delicious, be warned, I do have a habit of masking massively complex technical stuff with metaphors involving cake. But in this case, you don't need to worry because all this stuff at the bottom, you can see the technical setup, the domain reputation, the IP reputation, the sending score. That's stuff that we're going to cover in a completely different session. We don't need to worry about it now, but it is a little bit more technical, that stuff. When we do deal with that, most likely you just want to hand it across to your email provider. That's someone like me or your IT team. We love this stuff. Can't get enough of this stuff. But these top three delicious layers of chocolate gooey goodlessness, this is something that you do need to concern yourself with. If you have a remit that includes sales, customer outreach, marketing, business development, this is your ball game you need to be playing here. And this is where we can start to have some fun. So we're going to be covering response rates, content, and subject line in today's session. We will come back to the email effectiveness cake in a later session, no doubt. Okay, so this is where we start to look at the anatomy of a crap email. And if you've received an email like this, you might, or if you've even sent an email like this, you might be thinking to yourself, well, yeah, I get emails like this every day. What's wrong with this? And there's a lot wrong with this. So let's go through this. And we'll go through step by step, but let me let you read it first and absorb it. So I'll give you a few seconds just to take it all in. Okay, I'm impatient. I'm not going to give you much longer. You can always pause the video. All right. So this is a email that's coming out from an agency. So somebody is sending it from an agency to someone at Coca-Cola Company Limited called Simon. So the first thing we see is the subject line. Oh, I go the wrong way. And the subject line, let's be honest, is pretty dreadful. Reaching out. It's unimaginative. It's cliched. Bearing in mind that the subject line is the first thing that any email recipient is going to be able to see, then that is your chance to get your foot in the door. If you fail at that first hurdle, your email is not going to be opened. It's not even personalized, this email. That's 101 of email marketing. Personalize your subject line. So that's an issue. We can also see very clearly that it looks like it's scraped data or bought data, even worse. So somebody has been so lazy, they've not even bothered to full caps the forename, which is just, it's sloppy. It's bad email. And I tell you what, if I did open this email, the moment I see my forename in upper caps, you've turned me off because I know it's an automated email while it's looking like plain text. And plain text is good. We should be doing plain text emails, reference back to the first session. But not like this. Okay. I couldn't help the amazing work. What amazing work. Generic compliment doesn't mean anything. You're sending the same compliment to everybody. I can see that. I'm not an idiot. One size fits all compliments. One size fit all compliments do not cut through the noise. And the next thing we see there is, okay, the Coca-Cola Company Limited. Nobody but nobody refers to Coke as the Coca-Cola Company Limited. Again, you're clearly indicating that this is just scraped data. People refer to Coke. Now, personalization and data scraping to one side. We're now talking about relevancy. So we're going out to someone at Coke and we are trying to build familiarity and we're trying to connect with them. How do we do that? Well, normally you'd be referencing work in a similar sector. You maybe talked about some of the work you've done with competitors, show some of the great work you've done promoting soft drinks, quick retail, I think it's called something like that, QSR, quick service retail. which is the drinks industry, fast food industry. Except Bob over here, no, he's not doing any of that. He's referencing the great work we've done with BMW, GSK, and BBC. Now, those are great names, and a halo effect is important. A halo effect is critical. Don't be afraid to shout about the great work you've done for amazing Halo clients. But make sure that those clients are relevant. And that's because people find it very hard to abstract good work done in one sector and carry that across to a different sector. Now, as an agency, you know, and I know, but skills are transferable. But as a brand owner, you want to feel special. You want to feel like the service that somebody is offering is relevant to you and specifically you. Um, and now what you're doing, okay? Well, you come in here with some generic, scraped, unpersonalized, irrelevant opening lines, and now you're asking me to download your pitch deck. It's not going to happen. Do you know how much time it's going to take me to read your pitch deck? It's probably going to take 20 minutes for me to go through it if I want to do it properly. I'm really busy. Or me as Simon. Simon's really busy. He's got 100 things he needs to be doing that day. The last thing he wants to do is download your pitch deck, go through it all, and realize that actually it's completely irrelevant. Simon's not going to spend the time doing that because you've not built a relationship with Simon yet. You have given him nothing. You're asking for his time, not only the time to read this email, but time to download and read your pitch deck. So you're asking a lot of him, and you've given him nothing in return whatsoever. So if I'm Simon, right now I'm a little bit annoyed with you, Bob, frankly. This is a little bit of a selfish one-way conversation that we're having. Where else has Bob gone wrong? Poor Bob. He's absolutely cocking this email up, isn't he? Okay, we help our clients. Good. Okay, help, support, not sell. I like that straight away. Except you help them develop their brand identity, stand out in a cluttered marketplace. Well, I'm sorry, but Coke may have issues, plastic bottles not being released to them, but one of the biggest challenges they have is most certainly not standing out in a cluttered marketplace. Coke stand out. They're the market leader. Everybody knows Coke. Everybody knows the brand for Coca-Cola. Nowhere have they had a conversation about, oh God, we don't stand out. It's not a problem that is facing them right now. They cut through the noise. Equally, if you're going out there with a value proposition, you need to make sure your value proposition is A, relevant, and B, focused. Now, we've got like 3 different value propositions. It feels like it's been passed around the houses and every department's had a go. You know, you've had the brand guys say their piece, create compelling communications that drive decisions. That definitely comes from the marketing department. And then build amazing websites. Yes, okay. Well, and that's probably from the digital department as well. So everyone's chipped in here. And what it's done is it's diluted that value proposition. So really, I'm not quite sure what you want me to do here. Do you want me to sign up to a new website? Do you want me to go and do my brand identity piece? Probably not. I'm Coke. It's not going to happen. Do I want to drive compelling communications? Again, I don't really know what you're offering me here. Make it to the point, make it succinct. And the final piece, oh no, it's 2 pieces actually. Second piece of the puzzle before we close this chapter. As Vice President, Global Omnichannel Commercial Strategy. I nearly choked saying that. That's a hell of a mouthful. Again, you need to humanize your data. You need to say, okay, well, it's not hi Simon uppercase, shouty Simon. It's not the Coca-Cola Company Limited. It's Coke. It's not Vice President Global Omnichannel Commercial Strategy. It's VP of Strategy. That's how you as a human would talk to Simon directly. So you need to simplify and humanize the language being used. And yes, that does take a little bit of time because let's be honest, it's all data. Somebody has got to go through that data and make sure that the data is clean, that it is removed all the uppercase, it's capitalized correctly, title case, that you've removed all the LLPs and PLCs and things that you don't really need in a company name, and also that their job titles are humanized so that they feel like they're coming from a human going to a human. And finally, I'm sure we can help you meet your commercial objectives, Simons. Well, don't bullshit me. You're not sure you can help me meet my commercial objectives? because you don't know what my commercial objectives are, do you, Bob? Because we've not had a communication, we've not had a conversation, we haven't got a relationship on which to base this exchange of value. You've literally just approached me out of the blue, and you've just asked and you've asked and you've asked, and you've not given anything back to me. So if I were Simon right now, I would absolutely be a little bit annoyed with receiving this email. So there's a lot wrong with that email. So where do we start with fixing that email? Well, let's start at the beginning. That's where, and let's start with the subject line. Now, people do truly judge a book by its cover, and the subject line is absolutely critical to getting your email read. If it's not read, it won't get a response, so you might as well not send it. Now, this book cover here, this has not been, or this one here, so that way, yep. This book cover here has not been chosen at random. It hopefully hammers home the principle of personalization. You can see here that if even a book title can be personalized these days, then you, as a digital marketer or as a BDM or as a salesperson, have no excuse not to personalize your subject lines. Also noting the subtle allusion to cake there as well. Um, so personalization is absolutely critical. And not just that ropey, straight bought data personalization, dear forename that we saw in our previous example. Make sure any dynamic data you use is humanized. Remove, as I said before, the PLCs, the LLPs, the corporate epitaphs, and switch back to colloquialisms and everyday speak, because these emails need to feel like they're coming from a human. Now, this takes time, and as far as I'm aware, there is no database out there that currently has information and formal, informal listings for company names. But that is a critical part of your prospecting. It's actually something, if you've spoken to Esther at all, but she's working on currently trying to build for our customers. So if this is 6 months down the line from now, Kulea might well have that database, but it doesn't exist yet. Show a little skin, but not too much. Curiosity is a really, really powerful force. A subject line is, by necessity, short. You can't reveal the full content of your email within the subject line. So don't even try. Keep your subject lines pithy, keep them short and sweet, keep them vague, make them interesting, make them intriguing. The best open rate I ever got was simply from the subject line chocolate. And that was relating to a Valentine's event that was coming up. And I think I got something like a 70% open rate when I sent it to 50,000 people. It was remarkable. People love chocolate, clearly. Um, Speaking of subject lines, make sure yours relates to the email content. So, chocolate's a great subject line, but if your email has nothing to do with chocolate, then it's irrelevant and it will switch people off because it will feel like a bait and switch, feel like deceit. Like I said, this was for a Valentine's event. So the tie in between the chocolate, the subject line, and the contents of the email was absolutely legitimate. And I know I keep harping on about this, but email marketing outreach is all about building relationships, and you cannot build a relationship on deceit. That first touch point, that first impression you make, has to be as convincing, as compelling, and honest as possible. So don't feel like you should try and bait and switch people. Just don't do it. It's a bad idea. And the final point to make in terms of subject lines is personalization. Personalization is critical, as we've talked about. Why? Because it increases open rates, it increases engagement rates, it increases click through rates, and follow that funnel to the bottom. It increases revenue per email, it increases sales. So include personalized content in your subject lines. Very powerful. Okay, now, once you've done all that with a great subject line, go take a look at Robert Cialdini's book, Persuasion. In fact, do this whether you're writing emails or not. It's essential reading for business development through and through. So Robert Cialdini is a business emirate, a marketing professor from, I can't remember where he's from. Does it say on here? No, it doesn't. He's a PhD somewhere. He's US, but he's been around since the 80s, and he's a fantastic author. And what he does is he takes real world applications of something called cognitive heuristics, and he employs them to drive more business. And email is a perfect place where cognitive heuristics, like little mental shortcuts, really do help to influence people to make the decisions you want them to make. In this case, it could be opening an email, or it could be following through with an action on that email. And Cognitive heuristics include things like urgency, scarcity, social proof, halo effect. They're all very powerful. So let's run through a few of these while I've got you on the line. Urgency, time sensitive offers, events create a huge sense of urgency, but be very careful about using overly coercive words as they tend to be picked up by the spam filters. So rather than having register now or miss out in your subject line or buy now, 24-hour sale, anything like that, you might want to have something a little bit softer, a little bit more ambiguous, such as 3 days to go. Scarcity linked to urgency. If people can see that there is a limited supply of your time, your product, your service, then they're more likely to want to buy your time, service, or product. And that links into social proof. The reason most of the time that you have a limited supply is because customers have already bought your products or services. That is evidence of success. People are naturally herd animals. We look to others to influence our decisions. Social proof is a great influencer. Even if you don't have a scarcity story to tell, you could certainly be using social proof. Tell customers how you've used your products or how customers have used your services. Use testimonials. Use Facebook likes. Use reviews to get your services sold. Don't be afraid to name drop either. Big brand names, use them. Use the halo effect. We mentioned halo effect earlier. We mentioned how halo effect wasn't being used correctly because it was irrelevant halo effect. But that email to Coca-Cola, if they've been talking about Dr. Pepper's, Pepsi, Tropicana, all these big drinks brands and how they'd helped them to achieve greatness, then that would have been a far more interesting, far more relevant and persuasive email than name dropping BMW and BBC. Um, Now, to me, the most important part of a subject line, and indeed the email, is the narrative arc. Tell a story. Any author will tell you the first line of their novel is the most important. It hooks the reader in and it makes them want to read more. The email equivalent of that first line of a novel is the subject line. Have fun. Be unusual. Be quirky. Be mysterious. Tease. Be yourself. Be a human. Um, Here are some cracking examples of how a subject line can hook your attention. These are from a guy called Matt Lerner. Now, Matt Lerner runs a company called, I think it's, what is it? It's startup, business startups or something like that. But I love getting Matt's emails. Now, Matt's a data guy, and I guarantee you that he's honed these subject lines through A, B, C testing, multivariate testing. But he has essentially based each one of these on best practice. So, what we've got here, we've got, are you a vitamin or a painkiller? I have no idea, but I want to find out. Um, if you hear these three words, you're in trouble. I mean, this is almost like link bait, isn't it? I'm like, oh, what are those three words? I want to find out more. I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit this. Yeah, okay, yeah. If you saw that at a web page, you think, okay, that is link bait, but at the same time, you're going to click it and find out more. But what's interesting about this, Matt, is that he has absolutely nailed best practice. You can see each one of those subject lines is on a sweet spot in terms of length. 6 to 10 words is absolutely the sweet spot for getting your subject lines read. Um, each one of them is quite intriguing. It's quite vague. Will tie into the email content. I know because it's Matt. And I've also read the email, so I know that they do. And they work. They just work. They're telling a story. Each one of them tells a story. They're interesting. Key thing here, be creative, have fun, pique their curiosity, uh, and failing that, use song lyrics because they always work. There you go. Great study proving that song lyrics increase open rates, email open rates by what is it, 11%. Brilliant. On a serious note, don't always be so serious. Have fun with your subject lines. Show your personality. Remember that your B2B emails should be coming from an individual, not from the company, not from a department, not signed off by anyone. They're a natural extension of your personality. So don't be afraid of that. Okay. So you've got them to open your outreach email. That's brilliant. Question is now what? Now, although it's a bit of a cliche, but content, as they say, is king. Please stay well clear of hard sell emails and ask yourself always, what is in it for the recipient? And I know I harped on about this in the first part of the series. I'm going to continue harping on it in this one, and I will probably continue to harp on what's in it for them, what's in it for the recipient. Are you inviting them to an exclusive event? Are you sharing some specific insight that will help them do their job better? Are you making them smile? An email is not there to sell a service. Nowhere in the history of email has someone sent one out from an agency, and let's say somebody signed up to 24-month retainer. Doesn't happen. Email is a tool for building relationships, sharing expertise and value, and generating reciprocity. Reciprocity is very important. If you don't know what reciprocity is, it's the social obligation that comes when you give something to somebody. They feel an obligation to give back to you. Now, what generally happens, and how that generally plays out, is if you offer some thought leadership, if you give something useful and helpful to somebody, then they feel more of an obligation to talk to you, to pick up the phone and talk to you, to respond to your emails. It's the reason why the Hare Krishnas, as they're dancing around singing their songs, being happy, are giving out books and free things and flowers to you and putting little beads around your neck. It's because they want to build reciprocity, and they want to have a conversation. So you have a moral, social obligation to them, having received something and accepted it, to then talk to them. So you get far higher response rates if you give something before then asking for a conversation. Now, keep your email short. I talked about this in the first series. Time is the most precious thing we have. And as I get older, I realize that we have less and less time. If you expect people to give away their time for free by reading an email equivalent of War and Peace, then you are in for some disappointment. So at Kulea, we use something called the iPhone test, which is why we have this iPhone on an animated GIF in the background. Now, the iPhone test is an internal test we apply to all outbound emails that we write and send on behalf of our clients. And it's very simple. Could I have written this email in the time it takes to get from Covent Garden to uh, Oxford Circus in London on the underground whilst writing on my iPhone? And if you can't, then it's too long. Honestly, imagine you're getting charged $100 per word. How would you then say to the content writer, okay, let's strip this back. Let's get down to its core fundamental message. Let's get rid of all the hyperbole. Let's go focus on what the value that's being communicated is and what we want to get out of this email. A great email is a couple of lines long. That's perfect. And it's actually really hard to do. And you might have to rewrite that email 50, 100 times to get it as succinct, as concise as you can. But in the words of, I think, Winston Churchill, I'm writing you this long email because I don't have time to write you a short email. Might be paraphrasing ever so slightly there. Okay. When you're writing that email, there are such a thing in this world as power words, emotional words that appeal to a specific use case. Just Google them. Use the Googles, folks. It's really easy to find these things. If you Google power words for vanity, Google will give you a list like this: kick ass, triumph, turbocharged, prosperous, daring, booming, bold, brilliant, lovely words to use in your emails. If you want to arouse curiosity with your email, then Google that instead. And you'll find words like hidden and hush hush and unlock and secrets and classified, and lots of lovely words that hook people's in curiosity. You want to build trust. You should be talking about privacy, official, expert, authority, dependable, no obligation. There is literally a library of tables like this out there on the web that you can be using to simply understand what your objective, what your tone of voice is, what you're trying to impart, and then use words to support those and go out and Google. Now, you've got a great subject line. You've written a great email, and we'll come on to what a good email looks like in a minute. But you now need to go one step further. You need to make sure that that email is generating a response. And why is that? Well, more and more the email service providers, the ESPs of this world, are looking at an individual's response to your email as a spam indicator. Yeah. So if you send out a load of emails, nobody opens them, nobody responds to them, nobody clicks, nobody does anything with them at all, Well, guess what? Next time you send out emails, they're going to go straight to the spam box because people just aren't interested. Um, Equally, if people move them to the spam box, oh God forbid, well, you're damned forever. You are not going to get out of that deep hole that you've dug yourself into. So there are certain responses that ESPs are looking for from your emails, and don't be afraid to just plain out ask for some of these responses. So the first response is have an email conversation. Now, if you remember in session one, I showed you an email. I can't remember what the content agency was, but it was a really great email. And it was being sent talking about the IKEA brand story. Now, the email call to action wasn't click here to see more. It wasn't click this link to email. It wasn't any of those things. It was reply to me, reply and I'll send you more examples of great brand stories from your competition so you can see the sort of thing they're doing. Now, that is generating a conversation, having a reply, and then you can bounce backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. And that is gold dust for ESPs. It shows me or shows them that your emails are valued, that they're generating interest, and that they are being received and responded to. That is straight to the top of the class. So don't be afraid to ask people to respond to your emails with a reply. Um, if your emails are starred, so let's just say it's a really important email and you click and star your emails in Gmail, then that's a really big indicator. And you won't miss that email again in the future because Gmail will make sure that it goes straight to your inbox. So ask people to do that. If you find my content helpful, if you find it useful, please do star it. In YouTube and please like, subscribe. To star in email is exactly the same thing. It's an equivalent. Likewise, having your email marked as important. So if it is an important email, please do tell the recipient to mark it as such. And if they remove it from the junk, if it's actually gone into spam through no fault of your own, uh, it can be actually a bonus if you can turn that around and people go into spam and actually take it out. That proactive action really does show the ESPs that you're sending good email and that they've made a mistake. If they forward your email, again, gold dust, okay? Because you're taking that value and you're multiplying it by 10 because the recipient is saying it's so good, I'm going to forward it to my friends and family. So that's really important. So again, don't be ashamed to say, look, if you find this useful, please do forward it on to your colleagues. Um, Having clicks in your email, having links being clicked in your email. Also, it's good that you get a link clicked, but bear in mind, Google, for example, has visibility across the spectrum. You're sending an email to Gmail. Somebody's clicking that email. They're then going to a web page. They're then going to another web page. They're going to another web page. All those web pages are being viewed on Chrome. Guess what? Guess who owns Chrome? Google owns Chrome. So Google has that visibility, so they can see what you're doing post email click. They can see if recipients are scrolling down, if they're watching videos on YouTube. Guess what? Google owns YouTube. So all those post click events all contribute towards your email engagement ratings. And if people are engaged with your emails, fantastic. What that means is you're going to get ended up, or you're going to end up more in the inbox. Even down to the fact that people are scrolling down on your emails, that's an indicator. Um, and of course, typo there, apologies, but having your email opened. Now, I know I've been talking in the past about iOS 15 and how all emails are being opened by Apple and it's completely messing up your metrics. It's messing up your metrics. It's messing up your open rate A/B testing and your benchmarking. What it isn't doing is it isn't affecting Google and it isn't affecting Hotmail. Google and Hotmail don't rely on pixels being fired in order to see whether your email is being opened or not. They know whether your email is being opened or not because they own the email clients. So they can genuinely see, it doesn't matter if Apple's firing off fake open events. Gmail and Hotmail and Yahoo and all these ESPs can see legitimate email opens. So if your emails aren't legitimately being opened, they will use that as an indicator of engagement and that will be a response that they're looking for. Okay. So we've sent an email, we've got the email opened, we've got the email read, we've got a response. Fantastic. I'm just going to drop in a free tool here because this is a nice thing to test your emails to make sure that it doesn't end up in the spam folder, that it doesn't go into promotions. And this is a free tool and it's a lovely tool. It's called mail-tester.com. Now, that hyphen is important because there is a mailtester.com out there that isn't hyphenated, and it's a different solution. This is the one we recommend, mail-tester.com. And literally all you do is you go on there, it'll give you an email address, you send your email through whatever email service provider you're using. Hopefully it's Kulea. If it's not, let's talk to us. And it will then give you a readability, a spam score, a deliverability score. You should settle for nothing less than 10 out of 10. Okay. If you're getting less than 10 out of 10, talk to us. We can help you through that because I guarantee you that the ESPs are getting tighter and tighter and tighter and harder to get into the inbox. So you need to be giving it your best effort to make sure that you're getting it delivered. And this will look at things like IP blacklist. It will look at content in keywords. It will look at authentication, SPF, DKIM, DMARC records, all that sort of stuff. There's a lot to go. Well, there's a lot sitting behind getting your emails delivered. This will tell you where to look, what to flag, and we can then help you obviously make sure that we overcome any issues. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up with an anatomy of what we call a print email, which again is going to show you best practice for what emails can look like. And I'm going to show you what a good email looks like before we close this session up. Okay, a print email it's personal, it's relevant, it's targeted, it's intriguing, it uses natural language, it's trusted, it's timely. Put that back on there. Okay. So if you are not all of those things, I keep losing my mouse icon. There it is, it's back. If you're not all of those things, then you need to be going back to your email and reevaluating it. So print, ironically, is how your email should be formed. Okay, let's go and have a look at a good outreach email. I'll tell you why it's good. So first thing, subject line, mutual back scratch. That's a little bit more interesting than reaching out, isn't it? It's like straight away you're intrigued. Intriguing people is good. Good morning, Simon. So there's two things going on here. The first thing is it's time sensitive. We've sent this email in the morning and it is morning, which already makes it feel more natural, more human. We have title cased Simon's name. We've actually taken the effort to go look at the data and see that Simon was all uppercase. We've changed it to Simon with a capital S and everything else lowercase, like people do when writing actual emails. Good. We have humanized the data. We've changed the Coca-Cola Company Limited into Coke. Brilliant. And we are not sending some generic one size fits all compliment. What we've actually done is we've gone and had a look at the Coca-Cola website. We've seen that their latest campaign is called Open to Better. And so we've inserted the name of their most recent campaign into the email content. Took 5 seconds. Our data discovery will do that regularly. They'll just go off and they'll find those key additional insights and they'll add them, they'll enrich your data and pop them in there. So it takes seconds, but suddenly a generic one size fits all email has gone on to something that is considered and relevant. We've also used a little bit of humor there. Seeing bottles of Coke flying off a shelf, metaphorically speaking, anything else would be a health and safety nightmare. Nice. I've not highlighted that, but it's worth mentioning. Humor is incredibly important in email. And then we're cutting straight to the what's in it for Simon. Later this month, we've got a very special event coming up for commercial leaders in the drink sector, and I hoped you might join us on the 20th. So it's relevant. It's so relevant to Simon. We're running an event for commercial leaders in the drink sector, and guess what? Simon is a commercial leader in the drinks sector. Instantly, this is a better email because you're giving me something back. You're appreciating who I am. We're casting halo effect. We're using the halo from McKinsey. McKinsey, I'm sure you know, a big consultancy brand, one of the top 4 consultants companies. And we're bringing on board Stacey Haas, who is actually an expert in the QSR, the quick service retail industry. So she's going to be talking about post-pandemic research and what it means for food and drink brands. Again, it's so relevant. Simon is going to be eating this up or drinking it up. Sorry, I should say drinking it up. We're being flattering to Simon. It would be amazing to have you involved, Simon. If you have any questions you'd like to post, Stacey, do send them my way, and we'll make sure she's briefed in advance. Do you see what we're doing there? We're inviting a conversation with Simon. We're asking Simon, we're not saying go to a form and fill out a form with your questions. We're inviting a dialogue, not a monologue, a dialogue, so that the ESPs can see conversation bouncing backwards and forwards. So make sure that when we send emails to Simon in the future, they get delivered to his inbox and others' inboxes as well. Because if Simon responds to us, others will respond to us. ESPs in this world look upon that favorably, and they make sure that our emails get delivered next time. So again, let me know if you can make it. I'll make sure you add it to the guest list. It's not asking for a click on RSVP. It's asking for a conversation and response. Speak soon, Bob. That is such a better email. I say slightly arrogantly, it's probably one of the best outreach emails you're going to see, because it's looking at Simon's pains, it's looking at Simon's challenges. It's just gone through a pandemic. QSR industry was really hard hit. How we're going to come out of it at the other end. These are pain points relevant to Simon. There are going to be lots of commercial leaders in the drink sector we could be sending this email out to. It's not personalized to the level where you can only really send this to one person. That's not very effective and very efficient. But you could happily send this email out to 300, 400, 500 individuals in the drinks sector, commercial leaders, commercial remit, sales remit, and this would land well with them. And yes, you would have to do a little bit of personalization by looking at the latest campaigns, but a bit of desk research that takes about 5 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. And that means it cuts through the noise. So there you go, guys. An example right at the start of this of a bad outreach email. I'm ending this on a high with an example of a good, relevant outreach email. And this will be obviously just the start of this relationship. I would expect you to continue building on this by offering value, support, and relevancy to Simon every step of that journey in order to build the relationship and bring Simon on board eventually as a new client. Good stuff. I hope you've enjoyed that session. We are going to be following this one up with what we're going to do next. I'm going to be talking about integration, building your own sales stack. I'm also going to be talking about the difference between email marketing and marketing automation. Do keep your eye out for emails coming from me or the team at Kulea. We'll let you know as soon as that's recorded and ready to go. And I hope it's helped, guys. I really do. I hope you found this useful. Any questions, as always, support@Kulea.ma. Put my name in the subject line. It'll make its way through to me. And I look forward to speaking to you face to face, or well, Zoom anyway.